G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you've been keeping well. Hey, it's competition time. I am entering an original cocktail in a competition for Mr Black Coffee Liqueur. Now, this little jobby here, an Australian coffee liqueur that has just been taking over the world in the last year or two. And it's because coffee lovers tell me this is the most amazing coffee flavour. It's not like the really sugary, syrupy ones that have dominated the market for years. Actually tastes like coffee, and it really carries through. I actually got it for last year's competition. I still have some, so the competition's on this year, so I've got to come up with a new cocktail. And the first thing I was going is, well, what flavours go with coffee? And I was thinking of the sort of things that, when there's what are more or less novelty cocktails at places like Starbucks. What do they have? There's caramel, chocolate, coconut sometimes. Last year's recipe that I did had chocolate in it, so I thought I'll do something different to chocolate. And I was thinking my current favourite cocktail was essentially the house cocktail at a now defunct bar called Woodson and Ford. The cocktail's called the Woodson and Ford. It uses the Manhattan as the base sort of structure of the recipe. It dumps the whiskey and then does a split spirit base between rum and applejack, and then there's sweet vermouth, as is in a Manhattan, and for a little bit different, there's a bit of herbal liqueur, Benedictine, just to make it different. And I thought, well, that's my favourite cocktail. I could use that as a basis. I thought, instead of Benedictine, have Mr Black in as a modifier in there. And I thought about the flavours, and even though the one I like, the Woodson and Ford, has rum and applejack, I thought I actually do want to bring whiskey back in, because I think whiskey with nice caramel notes I think will play off Mr Black really well. But I'm going to keep a split base and do some rum, and I have a really nice coconut rum, and I thought the coconut element would also go well with the Mr Black. And that was my plan, and I did a test run and it was pretty good. And I remember drinking it going, this is good, I like this. This actually I don't smoke, but this made me think I should be in a leather armchair smoking a cigar while I drank that, which gave me a final touch, a final brainwave. This should be a smoked cocktail. So after I stir the ingredients for the cocktail, I'm going to smoke up my glass that'll be going in, a double rocks glass, and then I'll pour the drink in and I'll have a smoky drink. And I'm going to build it right now. This cocktail is going to feature all Australian ingredients, and that's going to figure into the name I've come up for it as well. So first up, I am going to have whiskey. This is from a local Melbourne distillery, the Starwood Distillery. This is their single malt Nova. I'm going to start out with 1 ounce of whiskey. But you go with whiskey you have. Something that has nice caramel notes would be perfect. Now the coconut rum. This is kind of sort of Australian. These people actually imported the rums from Trinidad and Tobago, and then they've done a whole thing with filtering it and doing a maceration with coconut, and it's one of the, they call it their experimental kitchen, the Rum Diary. Incidentally, where my little badge comes from, that's their logo for the Rum Diary. And so it's kind of sort of Australian, kind of sort of not, but this is what I'm going with. I'm going to add 1 ounce of coconut rum. If you're following along at home, try and avoid using something that tastes like suntan lotion. Like, don't use a Malibu if you can avoid it, but yeah, go with what you've got. Following the Manhattan model, this drink does have a sweet vermouth. I'm using, again, an Australian vermouth from Maiden Eye, their sweet vermouth. They make a whole range. This one's really good. I'm going for 3/4 of an ounce, so about 22.5 mils of sweet vermouth. Now for the star of our show, Mr Black. I'm going to add 1/2 ounce or 15 mils of Mr Black. Now that might not sound like the star of the show, but this has a really impressive coffee flavour, and even though it's only 1/2 ounce, it isn't going to be playing a supporting role. The Mr Black flavours are going to come through really well, and I've done a taste test, it complements them really well, so I'm going to add 15 mils, 1/2 ounce of Mr Black Coffee Liqueur. The final touch, I'm going to go with some orange bitters, just 2 dashes of orange bitters. That's the cocktail ingredients. Now I want to get my glass smoked, so I've got some rosemary, fresh from the garden, and I've crushed up some of a cinnamon stick, and I'm going to torch that and put the glass over it and let that fill the glass with smoke while I stir the cocktail on some ice. While the glass is being smoked, add ice to my mixing glass. I'm going to mix it with a cast of Kaz Regan's finger. Feel free to use a spoon or your own finger. I'm not the boss of you. Stir that for about 15 seconds to chill and get a little bit of dilution. Because this is an all booze drink. With a big rock of ice added to my smoked glass, pour the drink over the top. And I think, keeping up with the flavours for a garnish, cinnamon stick and some more rosemary. And this is my cocktail for the Mr Black cocktail competition. What I like about this is you're having an experience before you even drink it. There's the gentle smoke wafting off, it's not overpowering, and then you also get to inhale the cinnamon and the rosemary as you bring it up. For the actual taste, it's a really nice blend of flavours in there. There is some initial sweetness. You're getting sweetness from the whiskey, from the rum, from the sweet vermouth, and then late on the palate, that coffee flavour from Mr Black. It's just the richness of those flavours going together, and just adding the smoking and the garnish with their aromas makes it a complete sensory experience. Now for the name, because it's based on a Manhattan with a bit of tweaking, and it's all Australian ingredients. I was actually workshopping this name with some friends. What we would call it, was there an Australian equivalent of Manhattan Island? We're going, not really. Were there any famous Australians in Manhattan? And someone threw out, Crocodile Dundee, he went to Manhattan. Yes, will we call it a Crocodile Dundee? And we thought, no, that's probably getting into copyright and trademark territory. We don't want to do that. And then one of my friends just went, well, what's his most famous line? That's not a knife. And so I said, oh, should we call it That's Not a Manhattan? And we go, no, just call it That's Not a Knife. So that's what we've gone with. My entry for this year's Mr Black cocktail competition is That's Not a Knife. If you make it, I hope you enjoy it, because I am enjoying it. It is a really rich, it's slightly decadent, multi-sensory experience. And yeah, that Mr Black really comes through. Like I said, just half an ounce in there, but it's what stays with you, that real coffee flavour. So I hope you enjoy it, and there will probably be a link where you can register to even vote for me in the competition. But failing that, I just hope you maybe try it yourself and enjoy it. And until I see you again, hope you do take care of yourself, take care of people around you as well, and until next time, cheers!